channel. If you're new here, I'm Erin, I'm 31. This channel is where I share my artist journey, my small business owner journey, and my overall life and things I'm interested in. And this video is going to be a little bit different. Hi, Scody. My dog came in. Do you want to come up? Oh, hello. Yes, I give you huggies. Oh, I love you, mister. Yes, I'm looking at the books. This video is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be sharing my top reads for autumn and also the books I want to read this fall. I am somebody who, if a book takes place over the summer or the spring or the winter, I don't want it. Like, I want to read a book that aligns with the season that I'm currently in, and it needs to have the right vibes and the right atmosphere and the right ambiance. So if a book is set in like summer or winter or spring, I don't want it. I want a book set in fall. So I've curated books that I love that take place in autumn. Some of them take place in earlier autumn, later autumn, but all of them take place in autumn. And some books I feel are a better fit for September. Like, I start autumn stuff like end of August. So some books for me are more of the vibe for August and September, and then other books are more of the vibe for me for like October, even a little bit into November, but mostly October. October to me is like prime spooky season time, and then September for me is a bit more like dark academia, kind of like suspense, thriller, that type of thing. So get your cozy coffee and let's get into the books. Okay, so first up is books that I think are a great fit for end of August, beginning of September. They are like dark academia or remind me of like back to school season, or they're a thriller. And I want to first mention a book that I don't have a physical copy of, but I listened to as an audiobook last year, and it was such a vibe for early fall. So that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I have not listened or read the second book in the series, Hellbent, but I really want to. That's on my TBR for this year. And it was so good. Pretty much it's set at I believe it's Yale. Watch it not be Yale at all, but it's set in Ivy League University, and it follows students and kind of like dark secret societies at the university. I'm just gonna leave it at that, but it was very good. It was very autumn vibes. It was very dark academia vibes, which I really, really loved. So that one is a great one for early fall. I also want to recommend The Swallow. So this book is so good. It is kind of like ghosties, cemeteries, but it also has like a very strong theme of kind of like back to school season for me. So that's why I think it's a good fit for September time. You could definitely read this in October as well, but it basically follows journal entries from two girls who end up finding each other, and they explore in their local cemetery. I'm gonna kind of leave it at that, but explores themes of ghosts, friendship, feeling lonely. It's so good. I love this author, Cheris Cotter. She writes incredible middle grade books, and I have read almost every single one of her works, and there are so many good ones that take place in the summer but also have like a spooky atmosphere that I really love. So I will talk about this later, but I absolutely recommend this author and recommend this book. It's so good. I read this in one day last year, or was it the year before? I think it was the year before. Oh yeah, it was the year before, because I read it while camping at Algonquin Park, and last year I was really sick, so I didn't get to go on our regular Algonquin camping trip every fall, but I read this the year before at the campfire and like by my flashlight. It was such a vibe, and the atmosphere of everything being so autumnal and this book just being like so cozy and so autumn. It was just so good. Highly recommend. The next book I'm going to talk about is a graphic novel, and it's called Over My Dead Body by Sweeney Boo, and it is a very, very beautiful graphic novel, and I love graphic novels for fall. They are so underrated in my opinion because it just is my favorite season. It's my favorite vibes, and the atmosphere of a really great graphic novel done by a great artist is so good. So this book has to do kind of like with dark academia, but also witches, and it is dark. It's just really good. I read this so fast, and like the art in it is so beautiful. There's so many beautiful spreads with like very beautiful, like look at, there's like pumpkins and very warm, like cozy palettes. I really love this. Like I literally ate this up. and it was very autumnal and very cozy and very dark academia. You could read this in September or October because it definitely is like witchy, but I feel like I like to save things that are like super, super, super intensely like Halloween related for October. So this one's a good one for kind of the transitional time. I also recently read The Only One Left by Bradley Sager. I found that it was like kind of like just stormy seaside ambiance, and it was more of a thriller type plot. So it wasn't super, super intensely like October to me. It was more so like thriller, suspense, kind of like dark, moody, gloomy seaside atmosphere. But I did really enjoy this book. It was very good. Basically, it's about this worker who gets moved to care for a client who was like accused of being a murderer. Her parents and is it her sister were murdered in like this big case back when this girl's really young, and now she's elderly and she needs like care, and she starts to tell her story about what actually happened on a typewriter. It's really good, lots of twists and turns. I kind of found like a little bit too many twists and turns by the end, but it was really good and I really enjoyed it. Like this book I read in one whole day because I was so obsessed with it. This book is probably my top recommendation for August, September. It is so good. So it is mostly set in autumn. All the atmosphere is autumn. There's a little bit of wintry atmosphere near the end, but at the same time it's set at a university and very much has that like Ivy League dark academia setting. But this book, oh my gosh, I tried to savor this book as much as possible. It's An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. Oh my goodness. It was so incredible. Dark academia, fall, dark, gloomy, rivalry, all girls school. So there's like sapphic themes in this. It's so, so good. And I'm just gonna say, if you love Carmilla and you love like a dark academia vibe, and if you don't know what Carmilla is, it's like it's an old book from a really long time ago, predates Dracula, I'm pretty sure, and there is also a web series called Carmilla, and I loved that web series years ago, so this book is for you if you love that. And also, like, it is just so good. Oh, I have all my leaves pressed in here too, but I love this book so much. Like, I want to read it again so badly, and I'm not one to reread a ton of books, but it was so incredible. Just so incredible. I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't want to go too far into it. The last book that I want to talk about too for like September dark academia reads that is on my list, but I don't have the physical copy with me, is Blue is for Nightmares by Lori, oh my goodness, I think it's Lori Marie Stolers, I think. I will put the name up on the screen. But this book is one that I read when I was in like middle school, high school, so years ago, and I was absolutely obsessed with it. It was a series. It's like blue is for nightmares, white is for remembrance, red is for, I don't even remember all the book names, but I loved the series so much. Basically like school, like boarding school atmosphere, and the main character Stacy is a witch. She practices, and what I loved about this book was the magic system was all like natural magic. It was very much like she was a like pagan or like Wiccan witch, so she used a lot of like crystals and candles and herbs and natural things for her witchcraft, which I liked because it made it very realistic. So basically follows Stacy. She's a witch. She's very intuitive. She has this roommate, Drea, and her roommate keeps getting these really spooky kind of like calls and notes from a stalker threatening to kill her, and Stacy gets these visions and like bad feelings, and she knows that something bad is going to happen, so she's trying to like figure out who. It's very good, very suspenseful, very much school atmosphere. I believe it takes place in late October, beginning of November. So it is very much like back to school vibes. It's like the beginning of the school year, but it's not directly in September, October. It's a little bit later, but it still very much is a very atmospheric fall book. And the plot and it's just so good. I don't even know if this book is in circulation anymore though, but I'm sure your local library might have it, or you might be able to find it as like an audiobook or something, but it's an amazing book. Okay, so my camera battery is running low, so I'm gonna try to get through the October books kind of quickly, and then I'm going to take a little break and put together I have physical books here that are on my TBR this year, but there's also books that I want to get that I want to mention. So I'm gonna go let my camera charge for a bit and gather my thoughts on all the books that I want to read. But I first want to mention a couple books that are on my are my highly recommended books for October, but I don't have physical copies of them with me right now. But one of them, so good, is Payback's a Witch. Lana Harper is the author. That is like my top recommended book for October. Oh my goodness. It is one of my absolute favorite books, fall books in general of all time. I think it is so underrated. I have not heard a lot of like booktube or book people talk about it at all, but it is such an incredible book. It is basically like John Tucker Must Die, but witches and bisexual, which like it's so good. It's so good. It's like witchy, sapphic, funny, so atmospheric. Like it is so autumnal and cozy. Like I literally felt like it was like set in Stars Hollow meets Halloween Town with like all these cozy like little shops, and even like the bar that they go to, like all the drinks sound like so autumnal and so cozy and so Halloweeny. I'm just gonna leave it at that, but it is such an incredible book. I loved it so much. I want to reread that one, and like I said, I don't really reread things, so to say that about a book is a lot. Another book that I loved last year was a middle grade book called The Bellwoods Game. I do forget the author, but I will put up a photo of it on the screen and the author's name, but I loved this book so much. It is a Canadian author and illustrator. I loved the art that went with this book. It was just as powerful as the story. Pretty much it's about this girl who decides to participate in this annual, there's a game that happens, I don't know if it's every year in Halloween or like every 13 years or 30 years or something, but there's some game that happens every certain amount of years that happens in the forest, and it's called the Bellwoods Game. It happens in the Bellwoods. There's this myth that this girl went missing in the woods and that her ghost haunts the woods, and that this game has to do with her ghost coming and getting the kids. Like it was really good. It was very well done. It takes place, I'm pretty sure, on Halloween night, so it's like very autumnal, very spooky, and I loved the art, and I loved just like the storytelling behind it all. It was really good. I really enjoyed that one. So that one is also on my list of recommendations for October. I have 2 graphic novels that I would love to recommend to you. Oh my goodness, these are so good. Same thing, like devoured these. This one I read on my first trip that my partner and I took to Algonquin together in 2020. We have made an annual tradition, almost, except for the one that I missed, of going to Algonquin Park in the fall. It is just the most autumnal vibe. I cannot wait to go back this year. And I read this book while I was there and on the drive, and all the foliage, and this book is so autumnal. It's so good. It's called Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. It is so beautiful. The art in it is so amazing. It's about like friendship and coming of age and romance, and it's set at a pumpkin patch corn maze that these 2 people work at. It was so good. Like all of the art is so autumnal and cozy. I really loved this book. It's such a good read. To me, like graphic novels feel almost like a movie, but I get to like savor all the visuals even more. So I loved this book. The next book is Seance Tea Party. I think this is like one of the most underrated autumnal books of all time. This is one of my absolute favorite books ever. It is called Seance Tea Party by Ray Mena Yi, and it has the most gorgeous autumnal art and just energy. Like it is so good. It is so autumn. Everything in it, just all the color palette, all the illustrations are so autumn. Everything down to like the outfits the characters wear. This book follows Laura. Laura is about to kind of enter teenagehood, is like growing up. It follows kind of around her birthday, and all of her friends want to be like more grown up, and they don't really care about having fun and imagination and being a kid and exploring, but Laura really does. And Laura befriends a ghost named Alexa because she has like a seance tea party, and she meets this ghost at this tea party, and then They end up having adventures together. It's so good. It's so good. It's so beautiful. It's about friendship. It's about growing up. And the art is just absolutely unreal. This book is such a vibe. Like, I do think I need to reread this because it is peak autumn. And my last October recommendation for now is the Girl in White. And this book was introduced to me by darling Desi, as most autumnal books are introduced to me, but this book is by Lindsay Curry. It is so good. It is so good. I'll read you the intro. Okay, first of all, there's like a little poem that kind of introduces the story. Sweet Molly once lived in Eastport. Sweet Molly once loved the sea. Sweet Molly lost Liam to the shadows. Now sweet Molly is coming for ye. So good. And the first chapter. Today is October 1st. It barged in on a gust of chilly air with red and orange leaves on its heels. Morning fog settled over our narrow streets like a cold, wet blanket. And everyone, and I mean everyone, is already wearing their chunkiest sweaters. For most people I know, October isn't just the end of t-shirts and flip-flops. It's the beginning of the best month of the year, Halloween month, the time when Eastport comes to life. I just love it. Very much like set in a Halloween town, like a town that loves Halloween, a town that is like so into Halloween, and there's like a ghost. It's very spooky. Lindsay Curry writes spooky middle grades. Like, I actually feel spooked when I read them. They are quite chilling. So love this one. Love it. Okay, I took a little break, ate some pasta salad, and I looked up some of these books that are new releases that I want to read this fall. I probably won't read all of them, but some of them sound really, really good, so I figured I'd tell you about them. I don't own any of them yet, so I'm just gonna read off the descriptions. But the first one, which I might say is, from rereading the description, I think that if it's set, it might be set in summer. I'm wondering if maybe it starts in summer and then fast forwards like through the school year. So if that's the case, that's fine for me. But if it is a summer book, I don't want it. So I will probably read it next summer because I really like this author. So this book is called Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, and it's by Grady Hendrix. And I loved How to Sell a Haunted House. It was like so funny and campy, but also like horror and spooky. This is what it says about this book. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast. And they were sent to the Wellward House in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in the sweltering summer of 1970, pregnant, terrified, and alone. Under the watchful eye of the stern Miss Wellwood, she meets a dozen other girls who are in the same predicament. Everything the girls eat every moment of their waking day, and everything they're allowed to talk about is strictly controlled by adults who claim they know what's best for them. Then Fern meets a librarian who gives her an occult book about witchcraft, and power is in the hands of the girls for the first time in their lives. But power can destroy as easily as it creates, and it's never given freely, and there's usually a price to be paid, and it's usually paid in blood. So I feel like that would be really good. I liked that other book that I read by Grady Hendrix, so I do want to give that one a try. I'm curious if it does take place in summer or if it kind of fast forwards, so I will be looking at that one this fall. The next one is a book called Make Me a Mixtape by Jennifer Whiteford. This book is about a guarded punk rocker turned barista meets a big-hearted sound tech who charms his way into her life and helps her revisit her musical past in this truly charming, cozy fall romance. So basically it's about like this musician who gave up on music and kind of about like revisiting your dreams in later adulthood and cozy romance. It's like coffee shops, music, fall vibes. I think that will be really good. And it's a Canadian author, so that's very nice as well. The next book that I'm curious about and want to check out this fall is Alexis Henderson's An Academy for Liars. This book follows Lennon Carter, and it says that her life is falling apart, and she will find that the hardest lessons sometimes come from outside the classroom in this stunning dark academia novel. It says that she gets a mysterious phone call inviting her to take the entrance exam for Drayton College, a school of magic hidden in a secret pocket of Savannah. Lennon has been chosen because, like everyone else at the school, she has the innate gift of persuasion, the ability to wield her will like a weapon, using it to control others and, in rare cases, matter itself. does enough for me. It's giving witchy, it's giving dark academia. It's giving an education of malice, but like different vibes. The next book I'm interested in reading is The Village Library Demon Hunting Society by C.M. Wagoner. It's giving like cozy mystery, it's giving like funny, campy, but atmospheric and autumnal. So I'll read you the little blurb. A librarian with a knack for solving murders realizes there is something decidedly supernatural afoot in her little town in this cozy fantasy mystery. Librarian Sherry Pink Whistle keeps finding bodies and solving murders, but she's concerned by just how many killers she's had to track down in her quaint village. None of her neighbors seem surprised by the rising body count, but Sherry's becoming convinced that whatever has been causing these deaths is unnatural. I think that's really funny. I feel like I would like that one. Libraries, fall, demons. And the last book that I'm curious about reading this autumn is Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. This book sounded so cozy. I saw Darling Desi talk about this in her recent video that was inspired by practical magic. It was so good. Anyways, but this says that it is a spellbinding, warm and cozy debut novel. A burned out witch will need to turn to her friends and trust in herself to find the magic in her own life again. I feel like this will be very like therapeutic and resonate with me in a lot of the themes in my life. So it says Belladonna Blackthorn. It's giving Mamma Mia, and it's also giving Payback's a Witch, because I'm pretty sure there's a family called the Blackthorn family. Anyways, Belladonna Blackthorn hasn't lost her magical spark, precisely, but she hasn't seen it in a while either. With her witchcraft under wraps and a toxic boss making her days miserable, Bella is struggling to keep her beloved lunar books afloat and is just making it through the day. The last thing she has time for is perfecting her magic. So when her 30th birthday begins a summons from her coven and a trial that tests her worthiness as a witch, Belle fears the worst. With only the month of October left to prove herself or risk losing her magic forever, Belle will need all the help she can get from all the women in her life, from an unlikely mentor figure, and even from an infuriating coven watchman who's sworn to protect her. I think that sounds so good and like cozy and very relevant for my life right now. Okay, last I will show you these books that have been sitting on my TBR. Some of them for a while, some of them are newer. The first book is The Very Secret Society of Regular Witches by Sangju Mandana. And this book apparently is like cozy, Gilmore Girls, witchy, funny, heartwarming, friendship, like all the things. A warm and uplifting novel about an isolated witch whose opportunity to embrace a quirky new family and a new love changes the course of her life. Morgan Long highly recommends this book, so that's enough for me. I will be reading it. And this is the year. I've had it on my shelf for a while, and for some reason I just haven't read it, even though it sounds all things that I would love, so I'm very excited to read this one. The next book is The October Witches, which is by Jennifer Klassen, and it sounds like the perfect cozy October middle grade book. So it says 13-year-old Clementine Marilyn lives with her mom, her aunts, and her cousin Mirabelle at number 15 Pendragon Road. The Marilyns are a family of witches, but because of an ancient falling out with the other branch of the family, the Morgans, they only have powers for a single month of the year, October. And this October is special because it could be the October that Clemmy is gifted with magic. That's enough. That's all I need to read. Looks amazing. I'm excited to read this one. I love a middle grade book, and I especially love a fall middle grade book. The next book is In the Company of Witches by Orly Wallace. This one is like highly talked about, I feel like, in the book community. Basically, it's about like a bed and breakfast, and it's like set in the fall, and it's like Gilmore Girls-y and friendship-y. It says, when a guest dies in the B&B she helps her aunts run, a young witch must rely on some good old-fashioned investigating to clear her aunt's name in this magical and charming new cozy mystery. Apparently it's really good. My friend has read this and said it was quite the vibes. I love a book that feels like a Hallmark movie sometimes for fall. It just feels very cozy, and I don't even care how literary it is. I just want the vibes. The next book was one that I really wanted to read last year, but I just got recently. It's called Playing the Witch Card by KJ Del Antonia. It says 3 generations of magic, 2 rogue exes, 1 tarot deck, and the perfect recipe for chaos. I just saw on the back of this that Lana Harper, the author who wrote Payback's a Witch, and Rachel Harrison, the author of Cackle, it's another autumnal book that I love, both like recommended this book and wrote little reviews in the back, so I feel like I'm gonna love it. It's kind of like bakery, autumn, witchy, all the vibes. And last but not least, I have another middle grade book called 13s by Kate Alice Marshall, and I have heard about this author a ton, and I was super excited to see that she had a middle grade series. And it says every 13 years in the town of Eden Eld, 3 13-year-olds disappear. And it's about like Halloween and like, oh, It sounds great. I'm excited to read this one. It kind of reminds me of like the Bellwoods game, but in a different way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, my friends. Thank you so much for watching this bookish video, something a little bit different for me, but I love watching videos like this and hearing about what people are reading, and especially fall books. I also hope that you are having a beautiful, wonderful, magical, autumnal season so far. And if you have any books that I haven't mentioned that you love for fall time or that you're really looking forward to reading, I would love to hear about it in the comments, because I do feel like there's always so many books that I forget about or don't know exist, and yeah, my favorite book could be something that you've read. So please let me know if there's any witchy books or books set in autumn that are very magical and special to you. I also, before I say goodbye, I figured I would just show you the bookmarks that I released in my shop for my fall collection. I think they are so perfect. They're like such a good fit and like balance for like a just like adds to the romanticizing of autumn and for the season. So I love them so much. I'm so proud of them. They have a little tassel on them. These ones don't, because I was just like playing around with making some recently, but they all have a tassel and like a little gold grommet. I just love them so much. I think they're such a vibe. We have the pumpkin coneflower, the pumpkin print, we have the coneflower ghosties, and then the sunflower ghosties. I love them, and they have been making my reading vibes like so much more fun and exciting to just like have a cute bookmark to look at. So these are linked below in my shop. I also have so many cute like autumnal stickers. So if you're somebody who puts like stickers on a journal, like I have a fall journal and I just did a fall tiny sketchbook challenge, and I put like stickers from my collection on there, and it just makes it so fun and festive. Anyways, friends, thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you liked it. Please comment with some of your favorites, and I will catch you in the next cozy video. Cheers!